Welcome, everybody, to the Gridiron Football Player of the Week show. I'm your host, Jace Lejeune. I'm joined, as always, by Alex Allison, also one of our beat writers here at Gridiron Football. And, man, we got a very interesting Player of the Week poll because this morning, and we won't have to clear the air first off with this, but if you're planning on voting this morning, and you got a message saying the website crashed, well, that is what indeed happened this morning. So we had a lot of people on the website this morning. I get the following number. I think like 250,000 people. And keep in mind, guys, like this is a national website. So we have college football coverage, NFL coverage, high school football coverage, and the Player of the Week poll. We had a lot of content. So well, just like food for thought next time when everybody tries to come on the website to vote last minute, because I know that's a pretty good strategy. It was like, hey, let's surprise attack everybody at the last second. Usually it could crash the website, and that's what happened here. So if you haven't won this week and you're placing the blame on the website crashing, well, I would have to say to that is vote sooner. It is open for 2 full days. So vote early, vote a lot, vote often, donate early, so that way you don't have to wait until the last second to do something like that. So we had 250,000 people on the website, a lot of traffic on the website, and Andy Bryson, Gridiron Football CEO, he had to spend a lot of money this morning to get an extra server, so that makes sure that GoDaddy make sure that the website doesn't crash. So we're going to clear the air out with that, but still, a lot of people were voting. We appreciate everybody that voted for a Gridiron Football Player of the Week poll, and once again, we had another exciting finish. Alex, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's an unfortunate set of circumstances. So if we do apologize if the result that happened is not what not the person that you wanted to win. Obviously, someone did win, and congratulations to them. We'll talk about that later. But it ended up being kind of a mess this morning. So it's hopefully it's a thing that just this doesn't happen every week. This hasn't
No, this is
happened
the first time
this
it's
year.
happened.
Yeah. So, hopefully this is just a freak occurrence that doesn't take place again. But yeah, it is sort of a one of the risks you have to take in if you're going to try to, use that strategy of voting late, right? Into that is that maybe something happens, maybe something weird takes place, like
Yeah.
the website crashing or whatever it might be. It's the equivalent of getting your homework done like really late, that maybe the next morning, before school, and then oh wait, my internet died or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens. I do apologize alongside everybody else for if you wanted to get votes in and get your guy a chance to win, and that's not what ended up taking place. You didn't get that chance. But hopefully we'll be back next week. Regularly, according to schedule, back on time. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's about it. We have a lot of people to get to, so we should probably
Yeah.
get
And
right
don't
into it.
worry, we definitely fixed the problem, so we won't have a website crash for the remainder of the year. So that problem's been fixed. It's just it happens sometimes, but it won't happen again. But yeah, well, Alex, let's talk about it. Everybody's here for to find out the results of the Player of the Week this week. We have 15 nominees, so we're going to try to make it easy on our producer Mo and try to get this up pretty quickly. So let's start off with at our number 15 spot, Alex.
At number 15, we have Kenny Thomas with 4 votes.
Yeah, Kenny Thomas plays for North DeSoto, played for the Griffins, and I gotta say, Alex, this was actually a milestone victory as well. So this is going to be a game a lot of people talk about at North DeSoto because it was Dennis Dunn's 250th win over his career.
Wow.
So congratulations to Coach Dennis Dunn, absolute legend in Louisiana high school football. So in his performance, he had 13 carries. He only touched the ball 13 times. 196 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. So 5 of his 13 carries went for 6 points. They won the game 62-11 over Southwood. Everybody talks about this explosive North DeSoto offense. They got really good quarterbacks. Only really going into his junior year. He's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Louisiana next year. But they can run the football. He's going to be back too. Kenny Thomas is only a junior, a 2026 guy. So this offense can definitely move the football. And you saw they're not just a heavy pass team. Kenny Thomas provides that balance for him offensively as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that a performance like this in a game that is as big of a deal for the school and the program and the coach gets a little bit, lost in the shuffle with the, not as much coverage, only the 4 votes here, for example. But it's also fair, right? There's a milestone that's happened that's just a little bit more important. That's just a little bit more widescaping of the program and of the school is what people are going to talk about. So it's unfortunate that this got a little bit swept under the rug, but it's a fantastic performance and it should get recognition. We love to talk about volume versus efficiency, especially talking with running backs, and touching the ball 13 times and scoring 5 touchdowns is the exact sort of performance, even if the yardage number isn't that insane. And it also kind of goes to show you what the performances are that we talk about on the show when isn't that insane is still going for almost 200 yards on only 13 carries. But 13 carries for 190-ish yards and 5 touchdowns. Getting 5 touchdowns on that little volume is unbelievable. It goes to show exactly that explosiveness that you were talking about. And this is a great team that's possibly going to be even better next year when that backfield becomes that pair of seniors as well.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Delafield, their quarterback, he led the Griffins to a state championship game runner-up appearance in the Dome as a 9th grader. So he's going to go into his junior year. So, this team and the Griffins, when you have him, Delafield, and you have Kenny Thomas in the backfield, watch out. They're dangerous not only this year, but next year as well. We go from the running back position in Louisiana to a wide receiver down in Texas for a number 14 spot.
At number 14, we have Aljor,
yep.
Aljor Miles with 5 votes. I apologize.
Yeah, from Kaufman High School in Texas, Aljor Miles. He's a very talented 2026 wide receiver. I think he's already rated as a 3-star, and you can see some of the talent there. And man, Alex, this type of performance, that was really needed because Aljor Miles went off, obviously. 9 catches, 238 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Of course, you're going to need a performance like that to do really well. But they won the game by 1 point. They won the game 28-27 over Poteet High School. So he scored all 4 touchdowns for him, and they won by a point, and he has 230 yards receiving. So, I mean, obviously, he has to be on this list. Great performance by Aljor, and I know our guy, Daryl Felker, the one-on-one interview with him. So check that out on our website, gridironfootballusa.com. But Aljor is our number 14 spot.
Yeah, it's not as common when you hear of a wide receiver stat line that is the take over the game stat line. Usually you see a running back or maybe a quarterback where you're like, okay, so this guy scored 300 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns, and they won the game by 3 points, right? And he scored all of their touchdowns. Usually that's a running back. Just one target, just one guy is all of the explosion in the passing game. And it shows you just how talented of a player this is with already 3 stars as a junior. Aljor Miles being the MVP of a game that is that close, a score that is that close, and being able to come up with an unbelievable performance, right? With 9 catches and 4 touchdowns. Again, that volume, both volume and efficiency as a receiver, but scoring a touchdown half the time that you're touching the ball is unbelievably explosive. And we don't talk as much about wide receivers on this show because it's just more difficult to get a stat line that pops. This is a stat line that pops. Mm-hmm. 200 receiving yards is unbelievable. 9 catches, 4 touchdowns again. Great performance from him, and we'll probably hear a lot more about him, whether it's on this show or wherever it may be over the next 14 months or so as he goes into his senior season. And yeah, again, shout out to Daryl for his article talking about him, giving him a little bit more discussion and exposure.
So, Alex, we actually cover 3 different states as the Gridiron Football National Player of the Week, and we go from Louisiana, Texas, down to Alabama. Somebody who's actually made our list already earlier this year at number 13.
At number 13, we have Jake Jones with 62 votes.
Jake Jones from Scottsboro High School in Alabama. Jake Jones made our list earlier this year and shows what kind of dual threat quarterback he is. He's been a really good player for Scottsboro, and he's a senior quarterback for him, and does a really good job leading this offense, leading this football team. You see what he can do on the ground. He had 21 carries for 110 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground. That's pretty amazing, but was pretty efficient throwing the football. I mean, he's a quarterback after all, and he completed 11 passes of 17 throws for 243 yards and 1 touchdown. Altogether, he had 353 total yards and 7 total touchdowns. They needed every touchdown from Jake Jones in this football game because they won the game 50-47 over Arab. Jake Jones, he's putting together a couple of strong performances and has been red hot lately for Scottsboro High School.
Yeah, he's not the only Alabama quarterback that we've talked about. Another senior, Landon Duckworth, we've had on the list 1 or 2 times. Alabama's got a couple of guys in that senior class this year that are able to sling the rock pretty well. But another takeaway is that this is the week. So last week, if you pay attention to the Player of the Week show, there were a couple of performances that were just otherworldly, that were second to none to any other week we've had the entire season. This week is special in a different way. You don't have the, Pop Houston 10 touchdown performance,
right,
but you have about 10 guys that have a performance that sounds a lot like this.
Yeah.
Where a guy went 300 yards and 7 touchdowns, and they needed everything to win the game.
Yeah.
You're going to hear, you hear a stat line like that, and you're like, how did this guy only get 62 votes? Well, part of it is that it's, a fan support thing, but also part of it is there were a lot of really good performances.
Yeah, they were.
And that's not to take anything away from what Jake did. Getting that many rushing touchdowns on that few yards says a lot about your ability to convert in the red zone on the ground, right? Mm-hmm. There's really no other way you get a stat line like that if you're not in a position where you're like, okay, we're on the 2, Jake, you're getting the ball. And you're going to get the ball again and again and again. Because he wasn't that efficient in terms of yards per carry, but he just got in the end zone. And when he threw the ball, he was able to produce and get another touchdown through the air. And so that's a dual threat quarterback that can compete really effectively with 7 touchdowns. And it's not going to be the last time we talk about a guy in that, 6-7-ish touchdown range. We're going to hear it a lot today.
Yeah, far from it. From it for sure. Far from it. Because the next guy, he had that type of same touchdown total around that 6-7 touchdown range. We go to our next guy at number 12.
At number 12, we have Floyd Flugents with 68 votes.
Talk about capitalizing on opportunities. That's what Floyd Flugents did here. He touched the ball, Alex, only 8 times. Okay, he's from Crowley High School in Crowley, Louisiana. He touched the ball 8 times. He scored 6 touchdowns on 8 touches. So you're telling me only twice he did not score, which is amazing, mind-blowing, okay? He had 280 all-purpose yards, which is insane in itself. That's like, 27 yards a touch, something like that. Insane. And
30 yards a touch.
30 yards a touch, pretty much. 280 all-purpose yards. 160 of those came on the ground. So this is how he scored all 6 touchdowns, Alex. He had a 65-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. He had a 55-yard punt return for a touchdown. So kickoff return for a touchdown, punt return for a touchdown, and his touchdown runs came from 12, 25, 45, and 54 yards. They won the game easily 44-12 over Pine Prairie. And, 6 touchdowns on 8 touches. That's nothing to sneeze at. That is incredible performance by Floyd Flugents, who just simply did not want to go down, at least not outside the end zone per se. What a performance by Floyd Flugents.
Probably didn't even have to wash his uniform afterwards.
Probably not.
No grass stains, nothing like that. He only got brought to the ground twice the entire game. That's a video game stat line. That's when you've mastered the running back road to glory on college football. and you just can't get tackled. You just break every single tackle, and you finish with a stat line of like 8 carries for 6 touchdowns. That's what that is. There's no other explanation. He didn't do that to actual people his age, right? No, surely not. No, it's unbelievable. It is the mother of all efficiency stat lines that I think we've ever had on the show. Because we've had some crazy ones, some like 4 touchdowns on 5 touches type stat lines, but this one I think takes the cake. 6 touchdowns, 8 touches, scored in 3 different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's just a great performance, and again, we're going to hear a lot of them today.
Oh, absolutely. Then we're going to go to our next guy who got it done both offensively and defensively. Alex, who tells us who just missed out on our top 10 this week.
At number 11, we have Charlie Gilmore with 81 votes.
I got to give a shout out to Logan Graffia, who covered this game. Actually, he was there and saw it in person. And when we did the Ball in the Boot, which is another show you can check out on our YouTube channel, he raved about this kid of what of an impact he was able to put in the football game. So big game for Northlake Christian. They're playing against undefeated Pope John Paul, and you're going to need a big time performance when you're playing against a really good football team. And Charlie Gilmore really stepped up for his squad for the Wolverines. On offense, as a wide receiver, Charlie had 3 catches for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he scored 2 times on 3 catches. That's just his offensive numbers. As a cornerback, he had 8 total tackles, 3 solo, 5 assists, 1 PBU, 1 interception, and a forced fumble. And they needed all of that great individual effort because they won the game. They got the upset over Pope John Paul, who just came off of defeating Harlem Berry, the number 1 running back in the country, and St. Martin's 27-21. And when you have 2 touchdowns on offense, you have an interception on defense, and you win the game in a big upset win, biggest win of the season by far for Northlake Christian, that is definitely deserving of being on this list.
Yeah, it's the Travis Hunter stat line, right?
Yeah.
We had someone win Player of the Week with a very similar stat line back in week 2. Jonathan Walker, where he puts up some great yards as a wide receiver. He dominates on defense as a cornerback. You're talking about a guy with 2 touchdowns and 2 takeaways. That's a lot. That's a great performance. And we've talked about it before, and a lot of these guys do it because of just the school size, right? But when you're playing both ways, it's significantly more difficult to produce at that level on both sides of the ball. And like if you take either of the performances individually, they're really good. 2 turnovers on defense, 2 touchdowns on offense, but they aren't like Player of the Week level, right?
Mm-hmm.
But together, doing it in the same game at the same time, especially in a game that's that big, knocking off an undefeated team this late into the season, that's a performance that you talk about. That's a performance that is worth the headlines, worth the price of admission. Logan, deservedly so, raving about a guy that I couldn't imagine what that looks like on the field, because you read a box score like this and you don't really get maybe the full understanding, especially on defense, where it's like how you don't all. It shows up a lot more on the field sometimes than just the 8 tackles would say, or the pick and the forced fumble would say.
Right.
So special performance, great performance, super deserving of being on the list. Unfortunate that he didn't quite crack the top 10.
Well, I would go to the top 10, so a great segue there. And we're going to go back to Texas, the state of Texas, a new up-and-coming football program. They actually got their first program varsity win in the program's history this year. So, Alex, tell us who is in our top 10.
At number 10, we have Terry Starks with 87 votes.
Yeah, Terry Starks plays for Eagle Mountain High School in Texas. They're just starting out. They actually got their first program win this season. And it helps when you get your first program win. You're starting out when you have a player like Terry Starks in the backfield. He was a workman-like running back and really carried the load here on a big-time performance. 30 carries, 292 yards rushing, 8 yards shy of 300 yards on the ground. 5 touchdowns. They won the game big, 55-26 over Burke Burnett. in Texas. So Terry Starks, have yourself a day. He's really been the engine of this offense. He's had a couple 200-yard games earlier this year. His first appearance this year in the Gridiron Football Player of the Week finalist list on a Player of the Week poll. And Terry Starks, he deserves it to be in our top 10. I mean, close to 300 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns, no matter on how many carries. That's very impressive, and Terry Starks definitely deserves it for Eagle Mountain.
They might have gotten their first win this season, but they also got their first Gridiron Football Player of the Week finalist this season, and we know which one's more important.
Oh yeah.
On a serious note, this is a great performance. This is another one of those performances that you're like, yeah, that's a finalist. That's a guy that 300 yards rushing, nearly 300 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. In an up-and-coming program, I think it's really important when you have a program like that to be able to lean on dominating in one particular area of the game, and being able to have a running back like that you can just hand the ball off to again and again and again and be that engine for your offense is, I think, really important, just from like a glue standpoint, from like a cultural standpoint for the team. When you have a younger team or a team that, like, a younger program, I think that pays dividends. I think that goes really far. And Terry is they're doing great things. That's a blowout win. That's also a big deal for a young program. But that sort of performance, I think, can carry a program longer than just however far he carries the team. And that's not just carries the team's a little bit unfair. A lot of that's offensive line, a lot of that's the team around him. But you get what I mean. That, like,
sure,
that can have long-term performances like that in a team like that can have long-term benefits for not just the team but the program as well.
Yeah, it's a great start for this program, and big time win for them. They got that win earlier this year, I believe. So it's another win for them this year. So a great start for Eagle Mountain High School, and we go to our number 9 player for a Gridiron Football Player of the Week, and this is a guy actually called his game in person. So I can tell you a lot about seeing this young man in person. Myself and Daryl Felker both saw this young man in person. So Alex, tell us who's number 9.
At number 9, we have Trenton Cheney with 163 votes.
Yeah, Trenton Cheney from Letcher High School. They had themselves a big game this past Friday. I had the pleasure of calling the game for Varsity Sports Now. I call a lot of Episcopal games for Varsity Sports Now as well. But I got the pleasure of calling this one last Friday. Daryl Felker also covered this game for Gridiron Football too. And when you have big-time games, this is pretty much for the district championship. Both teams with that can make a run at a state championship this year, in Letcher and Edie White. You have that phrase, big-time players step up and make big-time players step up in big-time games. That's what Trenton Cheney did. He's a Raging Cajuns commit, and he had 2 explosive plays that really highlight this win. His overall stat line, 10 carries for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had 3 catches for 70 yards and another touchdown. Add together 177 total yards and 3 touchdowns. But his two of those touchdowns were big explosive plays. One of them was a 55-yard touchdown catch to start the game, and another one was a 96-yard touchdown run to really put them ahead by 2 touchdowns. That was actually what made the difference in the end. So 27-20 was the final score. Letcher continues their undefeated season. Right now, they're looking pretty strong to be in contention, maybe for a number 1 seed in Division II non-select playoffs. And Trenton Cheney, like I said, big-time players step up in big-time games, and that's what Trenton Cheney did. The UOL Raging Cajuns commit with a big-time performance last Friday.
Yeah, I'll keep this brief because I wasn't at the game. Jace can do a much better job of talking about, and I think he did do a much better job of illustrating why this is a Gridiron Football Player of the Week finalist performance. Because the stat line doesn't pop, right? You just look at the stat line and you're like, yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a great stat line, but there's no crazy touchdown number. There's no crazy yardage number. But sometimes when you're at a game, you get a better idea of what is the game-changing performance, especially in a game that's that big. That I couldn't imagine what it felt like being on that field and seeing, okay, well, it's a close game. Letcher's on their own 4-yard line. Boom, 96-yard run, game over. And that that play alone is game changing, and to have the stat line around it that is very good is what makes you have one of these kind of performances that qualifies as a finalist for Gridiron Football Player of the Week.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, he definitely deserved it. He really was the difference in that football game. And it was a big time match against a really good ED White team, and he scored 3 of their 4 touchdowns, and it was a touchdown game. So it was a pretty big performance, and he stepped up, made some big plays. Whether it was at wide receiver or running back, he did a little bit of everything. So I know Raging Cajun fans are excited to have him. Now let's go to. And speaking of excited to have him. I'm sure Hamilton Christian is excited to have this kid, and he's only a sophomore, but he is very special. Alex, tell us who is at number 7.
At number 8, we have Javon Vital with 302 votes.
Yeah, that's right. Number 8. Yeah. Good thing you're better at math than I am. So,
I'm just looking at a list, man.
There you go. So yeah, he was really good. I mean, talk about. He's only a sophomore, guys. But Javon Vital is a guy that a lot of people need to pay attention to. This kid can play from Hamilton Christian. He plays quarterback for him, but, I mean, he does a little bit of everything for him.
Drives the bus.
Yeah, drives the bus, too. That's a thing I like to say. At the 1A level, you kind of need to do a little bit of everything, but he has no problem doing it. He completed 4 or 5 passes for 54 yards and a touchdown. Rushing, he had 19 carries, 246 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So a touchdown pass, 5 rushing touchdowns, a kickoff return for a 55-yard touchdown. Also had an interception return for 30 yards, 7 total touchdowns, and a 46-22 win over a pretty good Elton football team. Man, I can't imagine having a touchdown pass, 5 touchdown runs, a kickoff return for a touchdown, an interception. That just gets me wanting just reading the stat line. I can't imagine actually doing that in the football game. But Javon Vital, I mean, he was pretty vital to this team's performance in the win, as you can see with the pun there. But Alex, I mean, break this one down. That is unbelievable performance from Javon Vital. Actually, he was one of my votes for this week, having the stat line like that.
Yeah, but this is yet another one of those performances where you're like, yep. Wow, what? 7 touchdowns. It's 7 touchdowns 3 different ways. Domination on offense, domination on defense with the pick, and then domination on special teams as well. Probably helped with the water, drove the bus,
drove the bus.
Unpacked the equipment truck, all of that stuff. That was his job. Again, that's one of those, you can sort of tell oftentimes when it's a 1A school stat line when he's like, oh yeah, so he's also the kickoff guy. He probably punts for all the hell we know.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. We are so lucky, right? We take for granted these stat lines nowadays. I just called a stat line in the previous entry where a guy had almost 200 yards total and 3 touchdowns. Only very good. And that's so unfair to Trenton. But the reason we say that is because we're spoiled with a stat line like this.
Yeah,
where a guy scores 7 touchdowns in 3 different ways. Oh, and also plays every snap on defense too. Don't forget that part. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And he only finished 8th. There's 7 people that got more votes than him. What do you mean? Crazy. I don't know if there were 7 people this season that would have a better stat line than that. It's ridiculous. It's a great stat line. It's a great performance. That's what that shows. It's not just a box score. It's actually a person going out and dominating on the field for every snap that they played. Great performance. Just unreal from Javon Vital.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Javon Vital was like we said, very vital to the team's performance, and we know that he's going to be on this list for a while. He's only a sophomore too. That's another thing. He's got 2 more years after this. So good luck, Class 1A with him. Now, here's another quarterback with that type, probably not as big of a scale as what Javon did, but kind of what Javon did for the importance to his team with a stat line like this. Alex, we go to our next guy.
At number 7, we have Adrian Coleman with 604 votes.
Yeah, Adrian Coleman, I mean, even though Hamilton Christian won that game, the last guy we talked about, Javon, won in, pretty decisive fashion. This was a type of performance similar to Javon's with how much he had to do for his football team, but the difference was it was needed more for Tara to get the win here. So Adrian Coleman is a quarterback for Tara High School. Really good athlete. Went to our Gridiron Football Media Day. Talked to him at the beginning of the year. 84 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns rushing, 54 yards passing, and just like his quarterback counterpart at Hamilton Christian, had a interception. This time it was returned for a touchdown, though. A 77-yard pick six. So that's 4 touchdowns if you add the 3 rushing touchdowns. They won the game 28-6 over Mentorship Academy. You take away what Adrian Coleman did, they don't win the football game. Adrian Coleman had 3 rushing touchdowns, a pick 6 for them to get that 28-6 win. So the Trojans needed it, man. And then Adrian Coleman, my buddy Cameron Sinigli actually called a game. It was Broadmoor and Tara, and saw him in person. And he told me he was really impressed by the quarterback. And Adrian Coleman, 4 touchdowns, and they won. They scored 28 points. Yeah, definitely very deserving for Adrian Coleman to be on this list.
Yeah, so it's also an important distinction when you're looking at these games to look at how important and how big the performance was in a game that where they needed it to win. Javon Vital was great. I don't know if he needed to drive the bus this time though. Adrian did. He was all of their touchdowns in a 28-6 victory in a game that they won handily. Right, it ended up being a blowout, but it was a blowout because he was on the field all the time.
Right.
He slams the door shut with a monstrous pick 6. He's the guy that gets in the end zone all 4 times they get on the scoreboard. And so without him, theoretically it's not just air, right? They don't just do nothing, right? They don't call, 0 plays without him. So who knows what the game looks like if he's not on the field is the point. Maybe they don't get shut out, but we don't know. And that's what the difference is. And so that's a big win for Tara. It's a great win for them. And, congratulations to them. We got to see them, and we got to see him during our media day. So it's a great job to be able to get a win like this and have one of those kind of performances where you're just playing on every snap, and then you are the primary reason why your team's able to win the game. That's a great performance. Congratulations to Adrian. Absolutely, for a great day.
Hey, Alex, we're just not about the offensive guys, right? We talked a lot of quarterbacks, running backs, receivers. We got a defensive tackle next on our list. So, Alex, tell us who just missed out on our top 5.
At number 6, we have Jacob Weaver with 656 votes.
And when you're a defensive tackle, you saw some of the quarterback stat lines we talked about already. How can you be this high on the list? The vote definitely plays a role. But Jacob definitely showed why he should be on this list with his stat line. As a defensive tackle, keep in mind, 12 tackles, 2 assists, so 10 of them are solo by himself, 4 TFLs, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble. And they needed that for Central Private because Central Private got an 8-0 win over Varno. They shut out Varno out the end zone, but your offense only scored 8 points. Well, a performance like Jacob Weaver and just doing, I guess, his Bobby Boucher impersonation, just being all over the football field, right? 12 tackles, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, 4 TFLs. Man, he did a whole lot. Usually don't say a defensive tackle impacting the scoreboard and winning the game, but Jacob Weaver really did for Central Private. So that's why he deserves his flowers and definitely deserves to be on this list.
The position of the player, not just being on defense, but the specific position on defense is so important to this argument as player of the week. Because it's so difficult to log stats as a defensive tackle. It's impossible. You're not the guy getting tackles. You're the guy that has to basically be the sacrificial lamb, right, in the middle of the field, taking a bunch of bodies, taking up space so that the running back can't run there and somebody else can make the tackle. You're not the guy getting the pressure on the quarterback. That's usually the edge rushers, the defensive ends. You're not the guy locking the tackles. You're not the guy getting picks. You don't usually have chances for a lot of that stuff. So it's just really difficult. 10 solo tackles, like I think that gets lost in this. 3 sacks, amazing. The 4 TFLs, awesome. The forced fumble, that's a fantastic performance. He deserves, that's why he's on here. But getting 10 solo tackles as a defensive tackle is unbelievably difficult. Solo tackles, that's unreal. What it reminds me of, and this is an unpleasant memory for, I think, a lot of LSU fans, but it is the first game that comes to mind, is that 2018 LSU-Bama game where it was like 2 versus 3 or 1 versus 3, and LSU gets shut out in the game. They have like negative rushing yards. And the player that left the impression, at least for me, watching it as a kid, and for a lot of people, I think you were you there at the time? Never mind. But anyway, but for whatever, as all LSU fans, I got lost in thought. Sorry. For all LSU fans, Quinnen Williams.
Oh yeah,
was unblockable.
Oh yeah.
And a large part of the reason why LSU had like negative rushing yards in the first quarter, couldn't get a point on the board. Think that, but you don't win 29-0, you win 8-0. And so he goes out there on the field every single time and he's like, I gotta go do it. Our offense isn't producing enough. I can't allow this guy in the defense as a whole. That's, it's not just him, it's the whole defensive performance. We can't let them get on the scoreboard, and they don't. Right. With the back against the wall, with no margin for error, he went out and dominated, and that defense went out and dominated and got a really nice win for Central Private. Another team that we got to see during Media Day. That's a great performance. That is absolutely deserving of its flowers. It's so difficult. It might be, other than offensive line where I think it's impossible, it might be the most difficult position to make finalists for a list like this in all of football.
Oh, yeah, it really is. And it doesn't matter how ugly or pretty a win is pretty no matter what. And Central Private was able to get that victory, and a lot of it had to do with their defensive lineman, Jacob Weaver. And Alex, we're finally get to our top 5. So we're getting up there in votes now. And, we actually go back to the flashy position. We go back to the quarterback position. So par for the course. So, Alex, tell us who's number 5.
At number 5, we have Jacob Gouchette with 766 votes.
I don't think you can play a game any better than Jacob Gouchette played for Willow High School. I don't know if you can actually do this against air. It's really hard to do. But he completed 12 of 13 passes, all right? So he only had 1 incompletion off the bat, which is really tough to do. For 180 yards and 7 touchdowns. 7 of his 12 completions were touchdowns. And they won the game let's just say they pretty much cruised to this one. 61-0 over the Arthur School starting out their football program. And it doesn't matter. It's still if you do that against air, that's kind of hard to do. But he did. Against the Arthur School. 7 touchdowns off only 12 completions, only had 1 incomplete pass. Talk about efficiency. I'm sure his quarterback range is pretty up there, maybe 158 or something, whatever the perfect number is. It's pretty up there. Jacob was pretty much nearly flawless at the quarterback position last Friday.
Yeah, he did this against the Arthur School. I don't know if you could have done this against just a guy named Arthur. You talk about doing it against air. You can't do this in practice. You're gonna have more than 1 completion.
Yeah.
Arthur got the 1 PBU. It's okay. Yeah. Again, it's a new school. It's a weaker opponent starting out. All of that sort of stuff. Sure, you can't do that against air. You put it perfectly. That's unreal. And it's not just the completion percentage, the yardage number. It doesn't sound that high, but when you only throw 13 passes, it's pretty unreal. It is pretty impressive. 7 touchdowns. He only completed 12 passes. He only threw 13. It's like half of your touches. Half of the times you threw the ball, it went in the end zone. Again, you're not doing that against air. So unbelievable. What a performance. Super deserving of being top 5 now. We're talking about top 5 on Gridiron Football Player of the Week, and we're really talking about some great performances at this point. So unreal. Congratulations to Jacob. Great job this week.
Oh, yeah. Excellent job for him to win the player. Be in the top 5 and talk about another guy who's had himself coming off a pretty good week of football. We're going to go, in fact, record-setting performance here. We're going to go to our number 4 spot, Alex.
At number 4, we have Caden DeBetta with 1,430 votes.
Yeah, Caden DeBetta, we're going to go more into why this performance was just awesome. I remember him and his brother Colin made the list last week. This time it's a single caller, the older brother. Older brothers rule, by the way. Having a younger brother myself, of course. We got to go to the older brothers. But Caden DeBetta was 6 for 8, 254 yards, 4 touchdowns. So that's another one kind of like what Jacob did, right? 4 of his 6 passes went for scores. Also added a rushing touchdown to it. 4 carries for 58 yards and a rushing touchdown. Added all together, 312 total yards and 5 touchdowns and a 55-10 win over Lafayette. But that's not the story here. Caden DeBetta also became the all-time leading passing leader in Acadiana football history. And guess who he beat to get that record? It was none other than his head coach, Matt McCullough, which I'm sure he has mixed emotions. It's like that old Bob Green quote. It's like pushing your mother, like your mother-in-law driving off in a Cadillac off a cliff. You have mixed feelings, but pretty much it was that kind of day for Matt McCullough, right? I mean, it's great to see your quarterback beat your record, but hey, he beat your record, coach. So, but still hilarious. I mean, Dustin Arnaud does a great job of keeping up with the Wrecking Rams. Sends us a lot of stuff about that, keeping us updated on that. I know going into the game, he needed only 34 yards to beat the record, and he actually broke the record, Alex, on a touchdown pass. So that makes the record even more incredible. So congratulations to Caden DeBetta. Record-setting performance, 5 touchdowns. 300 yards, and they run the veer, by the way. So shows you how good this offense is for Acadiana. Alex, talk about what was a historic performance and a memorable day for the DeBetta family.
Yeah, well, I got to see. We talked about this a lot last week, and it was sort of a foregone conclusion last week that I was going to break it, unless Coach McCullough got super defensive with his own record and just stopped throwing passes. Or he said, "Yeah, Colin, hey, you play wide receiver. Yeah, you play quarterback now.
Yeah, switch.
You switch. So it was basically a foregone conclusion, even though they run the veer. So it didn't, it's not that shocking, but that doesn't make it less impressive. The volume doesn't sound so high, but when you're talking about a veer offense that doesn't throw in high volume, it's really impressive to have a quarterback that can both run the ball effectively. He got in the end zone today in this game on the ground as well, but to also be able to throw the ball with unreal efficiency. To produce at this level, you have to throw with unreal efficiency in order to actually have like a good performing game. And he did that. 300 total yards, 5 total touchdowns, 4 through the air on only 8 passes. So every time he throws the ball, there's you're gonna flip a coin, and yep, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
There are some crazy volume days today, and there were some crazy volume days last week. But this week is really an efficiency week, where you have guys that are just like, oh yeah, you like 6 touchdowns on 8 touches. How about 4 passing touchdowns on 8 touches? How about, 5 touchdowns on 13 touches? And it just keeps getting crazier as you get down the list that so many different people could do that this week. We've talked a lot about Caden. We will continue to talk about Caden. He is having a performance and a season deserving of recognition and a career deserving of recognition. And Acadiana is one of those teams that when we get into November and we get into December, we're probably still going to be talking about them.
Yeah, watch out.
So we've, there's a lot to like about Caden and about his performance and about everything that they've done throughout this season. I got to see him early in the season and went over St. Thomas More. We're going to keep talking about them a lot over the next couple of months.
So. Yeah, watch out when they can throw the football like they've been doing with the add in the veer offense. Watch out. Acadiana is, for my money's worth, they're one of the top 5 teams in the state right now, undoubtedly, by the way they've been playing football. Alex, we go to our next guy here, and at number 3, and is actually the running back position for another prominent. We talk about KDM. This is another prominent program name in Louisiana.
At number 3, we have Malachi Dabney with 2,677 votes.
And that program we're talking about is Destrehan High School. It's really good to see Destrehan back on this list. I know it's been kind of like a up and down type of season. A lot of it has to do with injuries. That can be tough. But they did get their quarterback Jackson Fields back, and I guess who's also in the backfield is a guy we're talking about right now, Malachi Dabney, another talented running back for Destrehan, and looks like he's going to be a pretty good one for the Wildcats. Destrehan has produced some pretty good guys in the backfield, and Malachi Dabney could be the future of this program. And they need it. They played a really good Captain Shreve offense. And we know about Captain Shreve because that was the team that beat Peyton Houston, when Peyton Houston had 10 touchdowns. So we knew that they can move the ball and they can score. They got a good running back as well, Jamarcia Platter, on the other side. But it was Destrehan's running back that stole the show. Malachi Dabney had 14 carries, 241 yards, and 4 touchdowns. They needed every one of those outs because we knew Captain Shreve can score. 46-42 was your final score there. So we knew Captain Shreve can score, and Malachi Dabney really stepped up for the Wildcats when they needed him. Only touched the ball 14 times for 241. That's a pretty good average there. 4 touchdowns. Very impressive performance, and it was a winning performance for Destrehan. This is the type of game and performance that could really turn the season around and get Destrehan going late in the season, get them hot, and Malachi Dabney certainly did that.
Yeah, the performance is really deserving of this, especially in a win over a team. Like, people read headlines, right? You try to, when you're in a football team, you try to block out all the noise, but you can't. And so when you play a team like Captain Shreve the week after they beat Pop Houston, when Pop Houston drops 800 yards and 10 touchdowns on someone and he loses, you can't not know about that. So Malachi Dabney all week, and that team all week, that offense, knows that Captain Shreve is going to put up points in bunches, and you're going to have to outscore them. You're not stopping them. They're not going to stop you, but you're going to have to outscore them.
Yeah.
And unlike Pop, say what you will about one of the greatest performances in the state of Louisiana, in the history of the state of Louisiana, that Pop had, didn't win the game.
Yeah, didn't win the game.
Malachi did, and with a performance that is absolutely deserving of it. We need to start covering Captain Shreve games, apparently.
Yeah. It's fun to watch, I would say.
Every game is the insane, like, St. Edmund Opelousas Catholic game I went to a couple of weeks ago. Like, just every week, apparently. Like, how have we not talked about them more? We are going to need to talk about them more while we still have the chance. So, unbelievable pair of games. Can't imagine being, like, the Captain Shreve defensive coordinator right now.
I think he's, I mean.
Having a rough couple of weeks. Probably losing sleep over this. But it's an incredible performance. Getting the win is really big in a game like that, because just like with Pop Houston last week, you can't imagine what it would feel like losing after putting a performance like that. So congratulations to Malachi. It's a great week. Those 250 yards on the ground. That's a worthy performance. It's a great performance from Malachi. Congratulations to him.
And we'll go to our number 2 spot, and this is a guy I definitely voted for. Definitely, I had another one of my votes for. It's none other than Mr. Blue Jay himself, Kane West, on one of our Gridiron Football player profile card guys. And you talk more about how many votes did Kane get?
So number 2, I have this like routine in my brain of what I do. You hit me with it beforehand. Number 2 is West, as you said, with 7,565 votes.
Yeah, Kane West definitely had. I mean, he was definitely deserving to be up there, at least in the nominations, and really he had a really strong shot at winning Gridiron Football Player of the Week this week. And it's going to happen, Kane. Just keep on doing what you're doing. It's going to happen. It may even happen after I see you play tonight against Catholic Point Capee. That could very much happen. But Kane West, man, he's really put this Blue Jay offense to a totally different level with the way he's been playing quarterback. Kind of like Kane the better, right? We've always known about Kane being our running team, but his ability to throw the football has given that extra element for this offense. Same thing can be said for Kane West. He's doing the same thing. He completed 15 for 23 passes for 295 yards and 6 touchdowns, had 12 carries for 29 yards and a 7th touchdown, and it's not over yet. Okay, you're thinking, oh, 7 touchdowns, what else is there? Well, he also had 6 2-point conversions in the win as well, and they won 58-7 over Sacred Heart. So, I mean, unbelievable performance for Kane West. 7 touchdowns. That's pretty incredible. 6 2-point conversions. He pretty much scored everything for the Blue Jays that night. I mean, I have to go and do the math on that. Like I said, not great at math. That's why Alex is crunching the numbers as we speak.
You said the final score is 54, right?
Yeah, 58-7.
Oh, 58. So
yeah.
he scored 54 of the 58 points.
So, yeah, okay. I mean, I guess they had 2 safeties.
Someone else had the other 2-point conversions? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We got crunched in the
Actually, it doesn't really add up when you think about it.
Yeah.
Wait, you said so he had 7 touchdowns and 7 2-point conversions?
7 touchdowns and 6 2-point conversions.
6 2-point conversions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 42 and 12, so that's 54. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, he scored a lot of points. He
scored a lot of points.
54, 7 touchdowns, 6 2-point conversions. He definitely. I can vote unlimited times, but I only vote for a certain number of players. But he definitely had my vote for sure. Alex, what can you say about this performance?
I got to see Kane in person, and I got to see the St. Edmund team in person.
Yeah.
6 2-point conversions sounds ridiculous. You watch him play, and you're like, oh, that's why. Because this is a team effort, and Kane is the leader of that team for a reason. Yep. They gave him the keys to the car for a reason. It's a great team. It's a scrappy team. They're still undefeated, right? I'm
actually going to go see them play tonight, and it's going to be against Catholic Point-Capee.
That's a big game. That's going to be a really exciting game.
Yeah.
St. Edmund is a really fun team to watch. Because they're one of those smaller schools where everyone's playing both ways, but they will grind it out. And when you get that passing game unlocked with the pair of wide receivers they have in Seth Oakland and Blake Moran, and he's able to get it to them. I got to see a game where they beat Opelousas Catholics, one of the best games in the entire state of Louisiana this year, in my opinion, where he wasn't able to really consistently get the ball to them. Yeah. But it was a great game nonetheless, and he had 5 2-point conversions in that game.
Yeah.
But when you unlock that, 295 yards passing, when Kane can do that, that's an unreal performance. 6 touchdowns through the air, or 5 touchdowns through the air. That is when this offense becomes not just great, but completely unstoppable. Because everything else is going to be there every single week. Kane's going to get his on the ground. Summerlin's going to get his on the ground. The offensive line's going to dominate. The wide receivers are going to dominate. The defense is very good. It's opportunistically very good, dominated in this performance. But the one thing I do want to talk about, because I know there's probably a lot of people out there that watch the Player of the Week show that don't watch Ballin' in the Boot.
Yep.
6 2-point conversions sounds so stupid. The same player getting 6 2-point conversions. It sounds unreal. Let me explain what that looked like. I wasn't at this game, but I can tell you exactly what it looked like. They said, okay, we're going to have a running back right here. We're going to have a running back right here. And Kane's going to get the ball in a full-on keeper QB power situation. We're going to run it to the right. You know what's going to happen. That's why I don't mind saying it on camera, because everybody knows what's going to happen, and you just can't stop it.
Yeah, because
it's unstoppable.
If you've seen Kane West workout videos, I mean, there's not going to be a lot of people stopping that. Trust me. He is a tank too. He's a load.
It's St. Edmund's version of the brotherly shove.
Oh yeah, it is. It's that version. But Kane West, what a special season he's having. I know he just came up short, but being our player of the week this week. But I know it's coming, Kane. Just keep on doing a good job, man. It's going to come to you. You're going to get that player of the week at this rate. And it could happen, especially in a big-time game tonight against Catholic Point Capee. So that's one Gridiron Football player profile guy we got. So you can keep up with him in his season on our website, gridironfootballusa.com. At number 1, Alex, is another Gridiron Football player profile card guy. Drum roll, please. Alex, who is our Gridiron Football Week 7 player of the week?
At number 1, our player of the week is Reed Chauvin with 19,000, ended up being a blowout, 19,911 votes.
Go Knights, baby. That's right. VSN. I call their games for Episcopal High School and VSN. And this is the first time an Episcopal player has won Gridiron Football Player of the Week. Last year, Braden George has come pretty close, was a finalist consistently, just wasn't able to get the win. But finally, we get to say the Episcopal Knight has won the Gridiron Football Player of the Week. And it's actually his counterpart last year, Reed Chauvin. I mentioned on the broadcast, hey, guys, Gridiron Football Player of the Week alert here during the VSN broadcast. And guess what? He actually ended up winning Player of the Week. Reed Chauvin, talk about how important his touchdowns were. We talked so much about these players being important to their team. He had 6 touchdowns in the game, 30 carries, 192 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Why is that important, Alex? The Knights scored 6 touchdowns in the game. All of them came from Reed Chauvin. So the final score ended up being like 42 Reed Chauvin. Sorry, Charter 22. So it was really important for Reed Chauvin to have those touchdowns. He did, and he's just a battering ram. I mean, he's always falling forward. He's never falling backwards, and there's just really good signs of a really good running back. He's a state champion powerlifter as well. Very strong. I think he squats over like 600 pounds, which is insane. Very strong back. He's actually going to be playing in our Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game at the end of the year as one of our running backs. Second, one of the leading rushers in the Baton Rouge area. So Episcopal, those Knights, man, they came up and supported Reed Chauvin, 19,911 votes. But at the same time, it was very deserving for Reed Chauvin. Gotta give credit to the offensive line too. They made a big part in the reason why Reed was able to have that success. Hopefully, Reed treated them good, gave them maybe treated them to some Raising Cane's after the game, or like he had to done something for that offensive line because
steak dinner.
Reed, you have had to done something for these guys, man, for providing those holes for you to run through. But Reed Chauvin, our Gridiron Football Week 7 Player of the Week. Congratulations, Episcopal High School, the Knights community, Episcopal Knights get a Player of the Week finally. They've been wanting like, Jace, when are we going to get a Player of the Week? It didn't happen last year with Braden, but it happened this year with Reed Chauvin. So, Alex, your thoughts about Reed winning this week's Player of the Week?
Episcopal's a running back factory at this point. From Braden, who not just was in our bowl game last year, but scored a touchdown at our bowl game last year. Now to Reed, I believe you have forgotten more about Episcopal football than I know. So I apologize for me forgetting this person's name. But one of the things that's interesting about Reed not just making the list, qualifying, but also winning, is that there's another really good back in that list. Is it Nathan Sanchez? Am I correct? Is that the
Nathan Sanchez.
Nathan Sanchez. Sorry.
Yeah, they got Nathan Sanchez. And David O'Lynn's been getting the ball too. So they got 3 good running backs. But here it's they leaned on Reed Chauvin, and he really came up big for him.
Yeah, so, I got a chance to see them during the Jamboree this year where both Sanchez and Chauvin looked really, really good. But it was one of those feelings I had where, like, I didn't think we would talk about him on the show a lot because I thought they would end up having to split the production a lot. Mm-hmm. You get a lot of weeks like that Jamboree where, like, Chauvin has 100 yards, Sanchez has 100 yards, but, you know, really good game, really good team performance, but you're not going to give it to either of them. But for one of them to get in the end zone all 6 times, that's how you do it, right? Mm-hmm. The yardage number wasn't that insane given volume, right? 30 carries for only,
like
again,
190.
190 yards.
190 yards.
Only 190 yards. Still unbelievable. It's still a great
Yeah.
performance. But like in the the scale of Gridiron Football Player of the Week, not that crazy. But when your team's 6 touchdowns, all 6 of your team's touchdowns, that it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
It just isn't as important as the yardage number when you get a touchdown number that crazy. We said it a lot this week, but this is another one of those games where the game ended up being a blowout. It ended up being a 20-point victory, but you replace Reed Chauvin with someone else. What does the team look like?
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't think they're going to get shut out if Reed isn't on the team, but what does it look like? You don't know. Do all those 6 touchdowns get scored? You don't always know. And, they have a great running back room. So it's a little bit different with them, but Reed was fantastic. Reed was the guy in this game, and you know that better than I do. But congratulations to him. Great performance, super deserving, all those things that I say for every single person. But it is very true here. It is a great performance. Congratulations to Reed again. Round of applause for being this week's Gridiron Football Player of the Week.
Absolutely, Alex. Well, everybody's wondering, okay, what does Reed get? So I guess maybe more calls or on VSN or something. I don't know. But pretty much what Reed's going to get is he'll get an interview with Gridiron Football, him and Coach Bourgeois. So Coach Bourgeois and Reed and I will sit down. We'll do an interview, get a chance for him to promote himself a little bit more. And also he gets a cool Letterman jacket patch here, you see here. Gridiron Football Player of the Week, National Player of the Week. If you win Player of the Week, you get yourself a Letterman jacket patch like this one. This is an example of last year's. So he'll get that as well. We actually ordered some already. We're waiting for those to come in. So whenever we do, we'll make sure to send to not only Reed, but to our other Gridiron Football Player of the Week winners this year. And he's also going to be automatically nominated for Gridiron Football Player of the Year, which is a Letterman jacket patch like this, but it's gold, so a different color as well, so get a chance to wear 2 of them and show that around school. So, but for guys like Kane West, doesn't necessarily if you've lost doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Actually, if you're consistently a nominee, you're going to be also a nomination for Player of the Year. I know Kane West has been a consistent nominee, and you also get a chance to be nominated. So for Reed Chauvin, great performance, Player of the Week. But Reed won't be nominated again because he's already won. But for Kane, he can win. He can win and be nominated again because he hasn't won it yet. So, but congratulations to Reed Chauvin, to Episcopal. Thank y'all for voting. Everybody that's voted, donated. I mean, it really helps. The money goes for a good cause. It goes towards the Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game, which is a game Reed is playing, and a lot of these other players that are on the list are playing in the Gridiron Football Bowl game. So that is where your money is going towards. So we appreciate everybody that's voted, donated, and we'll make sure Andy definitely paid some money to make sure the servers are right, the website's good. We apologize if there was any inconvenience with the votes and everything this morning because of the website crashing, but it happens, sometimes. But we should not have that problem the rest of the year. But we are a national website. And so when 250,000 people are on there at the same time, we got NFL content, college content, Player of the Week, high school content, LSU content, you name it, we got it. It's going to happen when you have a lot of people there at the same time, and that's what happens. So, Alex, any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
No, I think you cover everything needed. This was another great week. I just wanted to say again that this was definitely the week the most out of anything, where the numbers start to get a little bit monotonous. We were like, yep, 300 yards, 6 touchdowns, 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 250 yards, 7 touchdowns. Everybody was putting up a game like that, or had some insane defensive tackle game, or some insane, wide receiver game, or whatever it was, through one incompletion. It shows the level of play that we have, not just in the state of Louisiana, but around the country right now, and people that are paying attention to gridiron and all of that sort of stuff. This has been a very fun thing to do each week, a fun video to shoot, because we're talking about the best of the best performances each week, and just getting to continue to do that. When we get to the end of the year and that Gridiron Football Player of the Year voting, we're going to have some really fun names to discuss.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, thank you to everyone for watching. This has been an absolute blast, and I hope you've enjoyed the ride with us all along the season.
Absolutely. I've definitely enjoyed the ride, and it's crazy to think that it's almost over. We're actually going into week 8. So next week's our
Yeah.
Gridiron Football Player of the Week for week 8. So guys, coaches, fans, if you have any nominations for us next week after great performances, make sure to submit your nominations. Well, the deadline will be at Monday at noon. Well, for Alex Allison, I'm Jay Lejeune. Hopefully you enjoyed this edition of a Gridiron Football Player of the Week show for week 7. Congratulations once again to Reed Chauvin for winning the award, and we'll see y'all next week on a Gridiron Football Player of the Week show.